Hey y'all, I'm back with another video, some more tips and tricks of how to really be a successful writer during National Novel Writing Month. Today I wanted to talk to you about one of the more important things that you have to do, and that's actually writing the story. And this is really obviously the most fun part of the process. It's what you really signed up for when you decided that you were going to spend a month just writing. But it's also one of the hardest parts, and it's not one of the hardest parts because of skill level or because you don't have the ability. It's one of the hardest parts because you have to hold yourself accountable. So I want to give you a couple of tips and tricks on how to keep your butt in the seat, which is exactly what authors like to say. It's an actual term that people use. One of the best ways that I've found to keep myself motivated is to keep a daily schedule. Don't try to get so stuck on spending hours and hours in a row just writing, because that's really hard to do. And in fact, sometimes especially after maybe a week of doing that, you could burn yourself out on writing, and then it would be really hard to get back and keep that consistency going. So what I try to do is pick a time during the day that you find that you are feeling the most energetic, you feel like your mind is working the best, you have the most privacy where you can actually focus on what it is that you're trying to do. And try to consistently set up a time where at least during that particular point of the day, you're going to be sitting down and writing. Even if it's only for 10 minutes, even if it's only for a half an hour. It's better to write for 30 minutes and have a high output of concentrated writing than it is to sit there and labor and force yourself to be in the seat for 5 or 6 hours in one stretch. So what I try to do is set up a calendar for myself. I like using Google, and the Google Calendar is really good. You can even give yourself reminders so that it chimes in on your phone and lets you know, like, hey, it's writing time. But just keeping that consistency and knowing that during a certain particular point of the day, that's what you're going to be doing, that will keep you accountable to yourself, which is one of the hardest people to stay accountable to. The other thing that I try to do to keep myself consistent is to keep in mind that you need to give yourself a break sometimes. It's okay to miss a day. It's okay if you're not feeling well one day to just say, okay, I'm going to take a break. It's also okay to give yourself a thinking day. Sometimes you get to a point in the story and you get stuck. Every writer has that issue. If you get to that point, sometimes the best thing to do is to just allow the benefit of time to take care of the problem. What I mean by this is your brain works in peculiar ways. Oftentimes you have an idea, and then it starts to work through that idea and eventually realizes that maybe something that you planned out isn't going to work. You might not even know that consciously at first, but somewhere in your mind is telling you, hey, take a break and figure this out before you move on to the next step. Give yourself the benefit of that doubt, because oftentimes doing so allows you to come up with that little nugget of an idea that makes the story work. And it sometimes feels kind of hard to do that, as if you're letting yourself down, not keeping up with your own schedule. But sometimes being able to just sit down and think is 90% of the battle. So just to review, keep yourself consistent by creating a calendar of days where you know at a certain time you're going to be sitting down and writing. Also give yourself time to have breaks, even if it's an entire day or even 2 days. Don't allow that to make you stop the actual journey of writing this story just because you missed a day or two. You could always catch up. And in fact, sometimes if you give yourself that break, it gives you the energy you need to just go forward and keep charging ahead. At the very top of this list, I would say make sure that you realize what you are trying to accomplish here. And even if you get to the end of the month and you haven't finished all of the work that you wanted to finish, remember that you did finish some work. And the months still go on. Time still goes on. Even though November ends, December continues, and then January and February. And this story that you're writing can continue into those times. So be easy on yourself, but also hold yourself accountable by keeping a schedule. I hope you have a great month, and I wish you lots of luck with the story that you're creating during National Novel Writing Month.